She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I believe God is going to expose to you and me places that we've been running from, perhaps a calling that we have pushed aside, things that we have chosen not to believe in because we're scared. If you brought the gift that Gideon put in your hotel room, you can open it up to Exodus chapter 6. Unless, of course, you had your own Bible. Thanks. And by the way, this is a monumental moment right now, okay? This is a monumental moment where I have finally weighed my ego with my goal of being able to see. And I am about to make a statement so loud, so big, that I have decided right here that I am going to make the statement in a really big way. Go ahead, Noah, you can laugh. You like them? My goal was to make people laugh. I'm sitting there trying on glasses, and I'm like, these are all disgusting. It's either I'm trying to look like some glamorous model with glasses, even though the fact is you're old, you can't see. Right? So I'm putting them on, I'm like, this is disgusting, I don't like the way that, no, you know what, I said, where's the biggest, ugliest glasses you got? Because those are the ones I want. Those got given away to someone else, but yeah, those are very similar to the ones that I wore on purpose. Anyway, so beautiful. They're supposed to laugh, not think they're cute. My whole point was to make everyone laugh when I put them on. Like some of my staff did at Passover at my house. They laughed at me, which is exactly what I wanted. So, I am no longer going to hold my Bible out here. I can see it now. This is amazing. So this is me embracing this season of my life. Instead of trying to pretend like this. Exodus chapter 6. Verse 6 and 7. Say therefore to the children of Israel, I am Yahweh. Listen, your Bible might say, I'm the Lord God. What happened when the Greeks translated the Old Testament is that they changed. They took out the name of God and they gave him a function, a title, just like the other 30,000 gods that they had. They called all their gods God. So they gave God the Most High the same name as, all those other gods that they were worshiping. It's okay. I know it's really hard, Mr. Spurlick, to look at me. It's okay. I miss you guys. It's so good to see you guys here. I was so happy when I saw your beautiful face. He's sitting there going, I can't believe she has this on her face. That's exactly what Peter did when he first saw them a week and a half ago. They make me look a little cross-eyed, which is my favorite part of the whole thing. Okay, so my Bible, I'm reading from the ISR translation. It's the Scripture Institute translation where they kept all the Hebrew names in the Bible. They didn't take the Hebrew names out, and every time the name of God shows up, it shows up actually in Hebrew, and I can read some Hebrew. I've taken Hebrew classes. Okay, so say therefore to the children of Israel, I am Yahweh. That's his name, by the way. Do you have a name? He has a name. Do you like when people call your name? As long as it's your mom not calling you your first and middle name or your full name, okay? So he has a name. His function is God, okay? His function is God. It's not his name. His name is Yahweh. That's his name. So he says, I shall bring you out from under the burdens of the Mitzrites, which is Egypt in your Bible, but it was Mitzrayim was the name of that country in the Bible times. and shall deliver you from their enslaving, and shall redeem you with an outstretched arm and with a great judgments, and shall take you as my people, and I shall be your Elohim, which Elohim is Hebrew for their God. Does that make sense? It's not God, it's the Hebrew God, the God of Israel. And you might not know this, but if you go to church and you proclaim to be a believer in Christ and in this same Bible, it's the God of Israel. It's not the God of United States of America. It's the God of Israel. Do you understand? He chose the Israelites to be his people. And through the seed of Abraham, Yeshua, Jesus, he's Hebrew also. He's Jewish. Has a Jewish name, a Hebrew name. His name is Yeshua. The Greek translators changed it altogether. They thought that we wouldn't be able to say Yeshua, so they called him Jesus instead, which was similar to Zeus, and that's where the roots came from. Zeus, Jesus. Same spellings, believe it or not. So the name Yeshua, because of him, there's a promise that we are grafted into the bloodline of Abraham, who is Jewish, who is a Hebrew. So it's the God of Israel, it's the people of Israel, the promises of Abraham that we're talking about here throughout the entire book. This entire book is about those people and anyone that believes in him, the God of Israel. So shall take you as my people, and I shall be your Elohim. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who is bringing you out from under the burdens of the Mitzrites. Let's stop right there. We all just finished Passover. Some of you did Easter. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. Easter, the word came from Estar, Ashtoreth. It's in the Bible. It was the goddess of fertility. The way they worshiped her once a year at the spring solstice was with bunnies and eggs. And that practice is still alive today. It's the fertility goddess. Bunnies represent fertility, eggs represent fertility. That's Easter. Passover, however, is actually in the Bible. And it's actually a festival, a time of celebration, families getting together and remembering what God did. We just had Passover. It just ended last Tuesday night. Last Tuesday, Passover actually ended. It's an 8-day-long celebration, and it's a very powerful one. We celebrate Passover in our house. We have not celebrated the Easter thing because I just have a question for you. Jesus rose, yes, on a Sunday, the first day of the week on the Hebrew calendar. This year, it was on a Thursday. Just like your birthday is not on the same day every single year of the week, neither was the day Jesus rose from the dead. It's a different day every year, right? Because the calendar keeps moving, right? But for some reason, we all just say it's every year on a Sunday. Just food for thought. Anyway, so I love those kind of weird things. Anyhow, so on Easter Sunday, on Passover, there are 4 cups of wine that are served. And these 4 cups of wine each have a representation of something very, very powerful. I want to share what those 4 cups of wine are because we have just come out of Passover. God still does powerful things in his calendar, in his timing. Passover was one that he said that we are to keep for all generations. For all generations, any of us that follow the God of Israel, that we're to keep that. And all it is a celebration and remember that he took us out of Egypt. So let's talk about these 4 cups, because it's all based on Exodus 6 and 7. Number 1 is the cup of sanctification. You're like, 4 cups of wine? Yep, it wasn't grape juice. It's wine. Now it makes perfect sense. Do you remember the story of Jesus? Remember, it's not the Last Supper, it was Passover. The Last Supper, you'll not find those words in the Bible. They don't exist in there. But Passover exists in the Bible. So it was Passover. So he had wine, 4 cups of them. Now it makes perfect sense. After they had Passover, they then marched down, which is quite a ways, down to the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And he tells Peter and the disciples with him to stay awake and alert and pray. And what did they do? Fell asleep. Wouldn't you too after 4 cups of wine? Wouldn't you too after lamb and unleavened bread? Wouldn't you, after this feast that goes on for hours, wouldn't you also fall asleep? He goes back to him like, wake up, man. Can't you just stay awake? Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah. Oh, okay. Makes perfect sense. Absolute perfect sense why they were passing out. And also why? Because Passover doesn't start till after sundown. So it's really late. They had a big meal. They had 4 cups of wine. The first cup is the cup of sanctification, which says, I will bring you out. Bring you out of where? It says, I'll bring you out of what? Enslavement, bondage, imprisonment. I will bring you out of your oppressors. I will bring you out. Well, I started to look up the word sanctification, and here's what it means. It means to free someone from sin, to sanctify, to make or declare something set apart, which is what the word holy, kadosh, holy, that's the Hebrew word for holy, it actually means set apart. That's what it means. When you set something apart, it is now holy. It is now sanctified. To make clean and to purify. I think you should write those things down. So the cup during Passover is the cup of sanctification. This is that we have had the opportunity to be purified. To be purified. You know, there's something that happens that when you have given your life over to God and you do your best to walk with Him closely and pray and serve Him and love Him, you kind of reach a point sometimes where things start to get stale. You're used to seeing miracles. No longer have a deep desire to see Him because you just see Him. You used to have this deep desire to be used by Him, and now He uses you all the time, so, you know, it's just normal. Everything's happenstance. That's where I've found myself, forgetting about the joy of salvation, just taking it for granted, that I have it, it's been with me, God has been so faithful, so good, so things just kind of get normal, and you get complacent and kind of comfortable, versus that place of needing to be sanctified, needing to be purified, and knowing how frail and wicked you truly are, and that without Him, you really will screw up. The second cup is a cup of deliverance. That is, I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Mitzrites, and I shall deliver you from their enslaving. The word deliver means the action of being rescued, to be set free. Shua is the word for deliverance. Isn't that wild? Shua. Yep. Rescue. Yeshua is Jesus' name. Deliverer. Savior. Means to aid, to bring victory, to bring prosperity, deliverance, health, help, salvation, and welfare. The next cup is the cup of redemption. Now listen, these aren't full giant cups of wine, you know, big goblets, you know, just little pours. I don't want you to get the wrong picture. Redemption. I will redeem you. Redemption means a thing that saves someone from error or evil, to make up for one's poor performance or behavior in the past, to repay, to clear a debt, to regain, to recover, to get back, to reclaim, to repossess, to buy back. That's what redemption means. Pidyon is the Hebrew word. It means ransom, to ransom. Padan is another Hebrew word for redemption, means to release, preserve, deliverance by any means, whatever the cost is, the ransom is paid. The fourth cup is restoration. Restoration is the action of returning something to a former condition, to repair, renovate, mending, refurbish, rehabilitation. Shuv is the Hebrew word for restoration, to return to its original starting point. Shalom is another Hebrew word for restoration, to reciprocate, make amends, to end, to finish, to make good, to repay, to make pence. Now, everything I just said are nothing but words, and they mean nothing to most people. And the reason why it means nothing to most people is because most of us have no idea that we're in Egypt. My question to you is, what is your Egypt? What is your Egypt? You see, sanctification, deliverance, redemption, and restoration means nothing unless you can feel your Egypt. Now, if we look back in history, how in the world did the children of Israel ever end up in Egypt? Why were they not in Israel? Why at this time were they in Egypt? How did they get there? And we learned something very powerful for business, for our marriage, for parenting, for our health from this one thing right here. How did they ever get in Egypt? And how long were they there? Somebody says they were there for 400 years. 430 years they were there. But how did they get there? Huh? Because at the time there was a great famine in the land. There was a great famine in the land. And Jacob, whose name was turned to Israel, and his 12 sons were out in a different place. His favorite son, Joseph, he was a bit of a little crackerhead. He knew he was the favorite. He taunted his brothers, who were older than him. They decided to throw him in a pit. They sold him into slavery. They told Papa he's dead. And they faked a death for their brother. Their brother is in Egypt. He's a slave. Then he's imprisoned. And then, because of his faithfulness to his God, and it says he was diligent in everything that he did. He learned architecture. He learned engineering. He learned how to manage a house, manage businesses. He prospered in everything that he did, and he allowed God to use his mouth. And in complete faith, he spoke what he needed to speak when he was supposed to speak it. He then became second highest in command of all of Egypt. His brothers, who are back home starving with their father sends them with some silver saying, go to Egypt where I heard there is grain. There's a famine in the land and we are dying. Go and see if you can purchase some grain. They go, and you'll never guess who they have to get in touch with. Joseph, but they don't recognize Joseph. Joseph looks like an Egyptian. He's tattooed, he's got a wig on, he's wearing a little skirt. He's speaking their language. He's looking all LA. He is. He don't look like Michigan anymore. He is looking all LA, right? Okay, so he's tatted, he's got gauges, he's all like, dude, okay? I mean, they were the fashion people of the world at that time. Do you understand? There was so much splendor, so much riches, so much wealth. They had their big gold chains on. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, these guys were just like, popping it, gangster. So Joseph, they don't recognize him, but Joseph recognizes his brothers. And he had a vision when he was young. He told his dad and the brothers the vision, and this is why they wanted to kill him, because they were jealous, like we're gonna serve you one day. There's a lot about business training, by the way, with the story of Joseph. I wrote about it in Spirit-Driven Success, and the whole series of that. Joseph is really a center point because there's a ton about business and leadership and making money inside of his very story. So they come back. Long story short, they all figure it out. He shows himself. He starts speaking Hebrew to them, and they just start weeping and asking for forgiveness. And then Joseph sends word back to his father and says, get our father and all your belongings. Pharaoh said, you can come live here in Egypt. We'll give you the best, the fat of the land for all the sheep to graze. So at that time, it was a blessing. It was a saving place, Egypt was.
Do you have a closet full of clothes yet say, I have nothing to wear? Are you a mom doing her best but desperately lacking me time? Or maybe your schedule has you dressing practically instead of powerfully. What if I told you there's a system, a blueprint that can save you time, money, and turn every head in the room, as well as impact the world through fashion? Friend, You're in the fashion business whether you like it or not. You're an ambassador representing your faith, your marriage, family, and business. Style is just a skill made easy with 123 Style Me. 10 steps to style success that will expand your leadership, save you hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. This program will bring you peace of mind, reignite your marriage, make you more productive, respected, and instantly boost your confidence, equipping you to be bold and beautiful. Go to courses.lindapage.com. Again, that is courses.lindapaige.com and make a priceless investment in yourself. Are you confident that you're always getting a good deal? Have you been equipped with the negotiation confidence strategies, tactics, and supporting tools you need to close world-class deals? Finally, JPA is making the exact same specialized negotiation training and secrets used by the world's largest, most successful corporations available to everyone. Proven in more than 60 countries and used by brands like Adidas, Vodafone, Pfizer, Nokia, and others, the JPA negotiation method will set you up to save money and time while significantly increasing your profits. It doesn't matter if you're buying or selling real estate, closing contracts with suppliers, or selling products and services to individuals or organizations. Using their simple step-by-step negotiation preparation checklist, you'll be ready to confidently slug it out toe-to-toe with the toughest professional negotiators. It's time for you to stop leaving money and opportunity on the table. Go to bizneg.com/events to register now. Again, that's bizneg.com/events. Get registered today.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Egypt was a point of rescuing an entire family line. But as 400 years went by, change of hands of different pharaohs, the Israelites multiplied like crazy. Now jealousy in this new pharaoh, and now the pharaoh enslaves the people. So what is your Egypt? Your Egypt doesn't start out as an Egypt. Your Egypt doesn't start out as an Egypt. Egypt for the children of Israel was a saving place, a safe place, a relieving place, a refreshing place, a place of abundance, a place of food, a place of multiplying, a place of blessing. But as time went on, and the longer they stayed, this comfortable place turned into a prison. Where is your Egypt, and what is your Egypt? When God delivered them out, they wished they were back in it. Yeah. I heard someone talking recently about coming out of drugs, coming out of alcoholism. And they were sharing that, man, once you go there, once you get in that place where you are surrounded by those people, and you're one of them, it's really hard to get out, they say. Like you try crawling yourself out, getting out of that alcoholism, getting out of the addictions, getting out of the drugs. Why? Because those who are still in Egypt are trying to suck you back into that life. They're trying to pull you back in, trying to get you to stay. Why? They feel stronger in numbers. And if there's one that leaves, they feel like the tribe's gotten smaller, and therefore they're weaker. So I'm going to pause here for a moment, and I want you to tell me, or write it down, what is your Egypt? What is the place that you've grown so comfortable with that's really not comfortable at all? What have you grown to accept that you should not accept? What area of your life have you just settled in that actually has become your prison? It's become a place that's holding you back from something that's so much greater that you're called to. For some of you, your prison is your job and your business. It's your security. It's that thing where you can count on. Therefore, you're not taking any risks. You're not rocking any boats. There's no faith that's being activated. You have to think back 430 years before Egypt now was a painful place, this place where it took a lot of faith for Jacob to gather his entire family and go to this strange country. Go to this place that he did not know of and to trust that they were going to be safe. Could you imagine how scared he was to leave? Kind of like when this country was founded, right? What did people have to do to come here? They had to give up everything. They had to risk it all. All. What have you risked lately? Hebrews 11:6 says, without faith, it's impossible to please God. The same Bible says that faith without works is dead. Faith without action is dead. Where are you using your faith? Or are you comfortably living in Egypt? My Egypt has been a comfort zone. That's been mine. Clearly mine. I have a great life today versus what my life was as a kid, what my life was in my early 20s. Give me a break. So those promises that I will sanctify you, the promise that I will deliver you, the promise that I will redeem you, the promise that I will restore you, I have witnessed throughout my whole life. My father. I lived in a prison of wanting a relationship with a father that was healthy, but thinking that could never happen. Thinking that it really didn't matter. I'm grown, it's over. I lost that chance. I missed out for 18 years. The relationship that my Papa and I have today, that's restoration. I came out of my Egypt, and how I come out of my Egypt is forgiving what was back there. Not assuming I know what happened and it doesn't matter. But that I have today the love of my Father, the hugs of my Father, the kisses of my Father. The Bible says that He will grant you the desires of your heart of those who diligently seek Him. Yes. Yep. That He'll grant the desires of your heart of those who diligently seek Him. Desire of my heart was to have a healthy relationship with a sister. Me and my two sisters that I grew up with, we had a horrible, horrible relationship. Hateful. I longed to know my older sister. Longed. For 24 years, I longed. Ever since the day I heard about her, the day I learned about her, I longed. And I looked at pictures of her, I thought I was looking at myself. Seriously. Like, wow, that's scary. That's scary. I never looked like anybody like I looked like this. That same God that said, I will take you out. I will deliver you from the hands of your oppressors. I will redeem you, and I will restore you to the very place where you were supposed to be to begin with. That's my sister and I. Maria, my older sister and I. Beautiful. Love to be with each other. Love to encourage each other. No jealousy. No backstabbing. No backfighting. Nothing. Just clean. Clean respect for each other. Clean honor for each other. Love to hear each other. Love to know each other's journeys and how we got to where we are. That was a desire of my heart. I had to forgive, and I had to let go of what was back there. And I had to release even who I was as a bad sister to my other sisters. I had things that I needed to get right to come out of my Egypt, to say, okay, I want so desperately to have a healthy sister relationship. I'm tired of unhealthy family relationships. So is your Egypt unhealthy family relationships? Is that something that pulls you back? Is your Egypt the things that happened for the first 18 years of your life and you're still belly aching about it? Is that your prison? Is your prison laziness? Is your prison procrastination? Is your prison your reputation, which is of no avail? Is your prison your finances? What is your Egypt? Because if you don't define your Egypt and you don't look at it for what it really is, you'll not have a desire to be sanctified, delivered, redeemed, or restored. You have no need of it, so you think. But there is a deliverer that desires to bring freedom into your life if you ask him, if you desire to come into that place with him. But when you can't even see the chains because you're living a facade, because you have just given up and you say, well, that's the way they are and that's the way I am and it is what it is, that is an Egypt. Don't you know that God is always moving from Genesis to Revelation, and ever since Revelation was done, signed, sealed, and delivered, and moved on, he has not stopped moving. He has not stopped doing great and mighty things. So if great and mighty things are not happening in your life, it could be because you're standing still. And you're in a place of imprisonment and you don't even recognize it because you've gotten so used to it. You've gotten so used to it. You've gotten so used to toxicity, or you've gotten so used to complacency, or you've gotten so used to your comfort zone that you can't even smell the stale trash that's all around you. That your nose has been trained to just handle it. You've gotten so used to dysfunction that you just accept it. Settling in and settling for less. So what is your Egypt? Because tonight the deliverer is here. He's here. Have you grown so complacent with him that you don't even know you need him? Have you become so self-reliant that you don't need him? Have you lost touch with a dream that he gave you a long time ago that you've just kind of buried and pushed down? You don't even know what it is. That same best success book ever written says that where the Spirit of Yahweh is, there is freedom. Where his Spirit is, there is freedom. So what's your Egypt? Is it debt? Is it pain from your past 3 employers? What are you holding on to that is keeping you where you're at? What have you gripped that you just won't let go of to be brought to a place of freedom so he can move in your life? Just as he has for thousands of years, he wants to use your life. And he wants to use you. Yes, you with all your faults, you with all your past, you with all your unholiness, all of your filth, all of your everything, all your self-righteousness, you. He wants to use you. Just like he chose to use the disciples who were messed up, jacked up people. Many have called them the dirty dozen. They have, the dirty dozen. They weren't all polished and neat and looking good and smelling good either. They're fishermen. So what's your Egypt? I want to give you a minute to write it down. What is it? What is it? What is it you're holding on to that's keeping you where you're at? Because the deliverer wants to see you free. You know, Jesus came to a man that was paralyzed, and he asked him, what do you want? I want to be healed. Do you really want to be healed? He made him ask for it. He made him ask for it. And some of us are so stubborn that we will not ask. Some of us are so stubborn. I've been there, so stubborn that we will not ask for help. That we rather stay stiff-necked. That we rather stay stuck than to ask. So have you settled? Or are you really living the life that he desires for you? Only you can answer that question. I can't answer it for you. Is it hatred? Fear? What's your Egypt? Loneliness? Betrayal? Failure? Fear of failure? That's been mine. Is your Egypt lying and keeping up the lie? I've encountered a lot of religious people in my life, even people high up in religious places who've lived a lie their whole life and taken lies to their grave with them. Lies of not even being married, but acting like they are and counseling other people. Lies of fathering other children, never come clean, but going to their grave with it and dying a painful death. Is your prison lies? All for a facade. Just if anyone knew the truth about me, they wouldn't love me. That's a lie. You'd be amazed what happens when you tell the truth. People actually respect you for telling the truth instead of trying to act like you're perfect. They do. People are longing for transparency today. People are so tired of fake liars. They want transparency. They want real love. They want a safe place. And if we're always putting on a facade that we're perfect and then we got it all together, well then, my friend, generally they won't trust us. But trust us when we get real with what our faults are and when we get real with what we're struggling with. So what's your Egypt? Can I get Isa up here, please? Thanks. Isa was singing earlier about a crazy love. If our heart has grown cold, we don't have a need for it. If our heart has grown cold, we don't have a need for his crazy love. If our heart has been like stone, we can't feel. And that's what happens when we choose to stay in Egypt. I know for me, I want to get back to a place where I'm living my life fully on faith, that I'm scared to death. That I'm scared to death. You know what I'm saying? Because the place I'm in right now, I'm not scared, and I don't like that feeling. I'm not scared. I don't like that. I think it's better to be a little scared. A little scared about I might screw this up. A little nervous about that this might not work out. A little uncomfortable with the fact that I just might blow it all. Because it's in that place where I need him. Yes. It's in that place where I know, like, I can't do this without you. And if you do not show up, I'm totally in trouble. Amen. That place. Yes. That's living a life of faith. Yes. That's living out of Egypt. Yes. So if you have defined your Egypt, guess what comes after Egypt? What comes up after Egypt? What is it? The promised land, she says. It's some refining processes that could just take 11 days or 40 years. Totally dependent on you. From where they left, right at the Red Sea, to where they inherited the land of Israel was 11 day trip. That was it. 11 days. But they chose to not believe, and they chose to stay in Egypt even though they were in a wilderness. They chose to stay, even though they were gone. They chose to continue to act like slaves. They continued to act like slaves. They continued to act like they were in Egypt even though they were completely free. because they refused to step into their freedom. They refused to believe in the God of Israel that parted the Red Sea for them, that let manna fall from heaven. They refused to believe in him, who even let meat fall on them that they didn't have to go catch or hunt. He spoiled their rear ends rotten. And yet they still murmured, they still complained, they still whined, and they still longed to go back to Egypt. They began to walk in nostalgia. Well, it wasn't that bad over there. We had leeks and garlic, man. We had all kinds of fish and food. It was awesome, wasn't it? They forgot about the beatings. They forgot about the pain. They forgot about their heart's cry. They forgot about that place of desperation. And you see, when we're in that desperate place, we're willing to do anything, anything to get free. That's when we're the most teachable. That's when we're hungry. That's when our hearts are the most pliable. But man, when we get into a groove, we lose that desperation. We lose that hunger. We lose the walk by faith and not by sight. Because now everything around us is good. So here, they're free, but they're acting like slaves. So they chose to take 40 years, and in fact, not a single elder was able to pass into the promised land because of their rebellion. So you're right, both of you. The one that said the desert, the wilderness, and the one that said the promised land. You get to determine how quick you receive it based on your pliable heart, based on the surrender of your heart. That's what determines whether or not you get to that promised land quickly or slow. Now, I know most of you want it fast. But I think most of you are just a little too comfortable, like myself. Just a little too comfortable. Things are too easy, or we've just settled with toxicity and gotten used to it.
Financing a home can be a nightmare if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Ask me. I know this. That's why the first thing you have to do is find a mortgage company you can trust that has your back through the entire process. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading your current one, or looking for an investment property, Rick Fujisaki at Wintrust Mortgage wants to win your trust. Rick understands the mortgage industry, and he can take all the stress out of financing a home for you. His easy-to-use worksheets will help you calculate the mortgage you can afford. And he has a unique tool designed to help you find and set aside money for your down payment. And when you work with Rick, who, by the way, I love, a portion goes to caring for the poor through King's Ransom Foundation. So visit loanmortgageguys.com and start building your dream today. Again, contact Rick at loanmortgageguys.com. Have you ever wondered if your investments are making enough money for retirement? What if you could buy an investment rental property for as little as $35,000 that rents for at least $550 a month? After Aaron and Drew Hudson asked themselves this question, Hudson Real Estate Investments was formed, and now 200 transactions have been conducted. Their system helps individuals buy and hold real estate. Their definition of a great buy and hold is a property that pays you a monthly positive cash flow from day one. Hudson Real Estate Investments has a team who find properties available for immediate purchase, vet tenants, and have qualified property management in place. So if you're looking to have freedom and live your life on your own terms, grab your phone and text the word FUTURE to 484848. Get started today. Text the word FUTURE to 484848. Secure your future now.
Prior to getting started with DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, we were spending absolutely every dime that we made. We were really struggling financially. Since plugging in to First Steps to Success just 4 months ago, we started a brand new business that is doing very, very well. We've paid off $4,500 in debt, but the most important thing is my relationship with my husband has improved like dramatically. I mean, we have so much more fun together. You know, I don't know about you, maybe your finances, you're doing great, maybe you're debt-free, maybe your relationships with your spouse, with your family are great. But if not, if you have some areas in your life that feel a little out of control or there's things that you need to work on, I highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success as soon as you can.
Prior to being dragged out to First Steps to Success, I was hopeless. I had no point to life. It was a day-to-day existence, working a job I despised for people I didn't respect. Deeper and deeper debt every year. You just couldn't get on top of it. I just had no hopes or dreams, none at all, and there was no point to life. But since coming out, we paid off $280,000 worth of debt, married the woman of my dreams. I came to love my job and the people I work for. I have all kinds of hopes and dreams. I get to watch them happen every day. I don't know what your life is like, you know. There's probably tons of hope. You probably know why you live and you got places you're going, but if you don't, you need to sign up for First Steps to Success. You go to DaniJohnson.com and you click on it and be here, because your life will not be the same if you do.
Prior to First Steps to Success, I was drowning in debt, I was terrified of my bills, and I wanted to travel, but I never had the money. And since coming to First Steps to Success, in the last 14 months, I've paid off over $18,000 in debt. I've gone on 6 vacations, and I'm not terrified of my bills anymore. So if you want to learn some proven strategies to really learn how to connect with people, take your life to the next level, all while having a total blast, you need to get registered for the next First Steps to Success today.
Prior to coming to First Step to Success, we were totally struggling, totally under the weight of $640,000 worth of debt, making $20,000 a month, but living paycheck to paycheck. So when we came here and I realized that it takes a totally different skill set to keep money, to create wealth than it is to make money, I have totally turned around our lifestyle. We have paid off $640,000 worth of debt in 2 years. We are debt-free as of June of 2013. I don't know where you're at. You might have all your finances in order. You might have a wonderful life. Your marriage might be all perfect and your kids are behaving. But if not, if one of those things is lacking, you've got to get here. Book your next event. You need to be here. You will not regret it.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So I would like to know, is there anybody here who has seen their Egypt, knows what it is, knows what you've settled into? You've lost that healthy fear. You've lost that healthy respect. You've lost that little bit of nervousness that goes, ah! Some of you are in a prison of drugs and alcohol. You're in a prison of keeping up your reputation. Some of you are in an absolute Egypt of not wanting to rock the boat. Some of you are in an Egypt of laziness, procrastination, living with your excuses. How well is that working for you? And all along, there's a Father in heaven that is saying, come with me. There he is saying, I will deliver you. I will redeem you. I will sanctify you. I will mend all your wounds. I will restore you. Which means make it right again. This, with my papa, is how it was originally supposed to be. That's restoration. This relationship is how it was originally intended. This relationship with my beautiful sister was how it was originally supposed to be. What do you have to do to get back to the original design? What is it? Do you know? Surrender. Forgive. Forgive. Stop blaming. Egypt has blame. You have to forgive. You have to release, and you have to trust. That's how you come back to your original place. That's how you come back to that spot that it was supposed to start from. Jesus came to make all things new. All things new. But you have to do something. You have to move your body. You have to move your own heart. You have to confess yourself. I rather hate. I rather blame. I'd rather be bitter. I'd rather somebody else pay this price for my pain. But God, today I choose to release that. I choose to move past. I choose to move forward. And I choose to follow you out of Egypt into my promised land. Do you know what's in the promised land? Houses they did not build themselves. Crops they did not plant themselves. Vineyards they did not prune themselves. That's what's in a promised land. Owning something that they didn't make themselves. That's what's in a promised land. That's where things are so easy. Where there's an overabundance of favor and doors opening for you and things moving in your direction that you do not deserve, and you know you don't deserve it. You know you don't deserve it. What's in the promised land is also a fight. That's what's also in the promised land. You see, Joshua chapter 1, the entire book of Joshua is them fighting for the land. So there has to be a willingness to come out. There's a sanctification process and a deliverance process. But the redemption and the restoration, because that land was originally set for them. Remember? It was promised to Abraham. So God restored them back to that promise that he made to Abraham. Not because the children of Israel were holy or they were great or they didn't sin. No, they were a mess. And he even told them that. In Deuteronomy, he says, don't think for a minute that this is going to be yours because of something you did that was good. Don't forget you're a stiff-necked, rebellious people. It is because of Abraham that I am giving you this. And friends, I'm here to tell you that the blessings in your life and my life that we don't even recognize as blessings isn't because of something that we've done. It's something that someone in our ancestors have done. Because if God kept a promise that he made to Abraham over 600 years before, and he still kept that promise, what promises did God make to your great-great-grandparents? That they prayed for, that they asked for, a price they paid, something they sowed into, something they worked hard for. And here you're just reaping the benefits just because you were born and are not even thankful nor grateful for what you have. How many of your parents were immigrants? My hand is up. My father was an immigrant to this country. He fled for his life, leaving Nicaragua to come here because someone wanted to kill him, and that someone was his father. Yeah. He came to this country at 19. That was a fight to leave his family and leave everything he'd ever known to come here. What sacrifice did your parents and grandparents make so that you would have a better life? What kind of sacrifices made? Now you're reaping the rewards. You got an education, you had nice clothes, cars, opportunity all around you. And yet maybe some of your parents and grandparents came to this country. They couldn't speak English. They didn't know the customs, the ways. As my dad started as a dishwasher. That's not what he was in Nicaragua. He was a part of a family business in Nicaragua. He came here, humbled himself as a dishwasher, having a fight to learn the language. So I got to be born here instead of an incredibly impoverished country where the poverty is unbelievable. The poorest Central American country, the second poorest in the Western Hemisphere. That's where I could have been born, but I wasn't because my dad fought to save his life to have a better future. And because of that, I got a better future. Thanks, Dad. Thanks. Seriously. I've been to Nicaragua many times. I see the pain, the suffering, the starvation. Every time I say, oh, that could be me. That could be me. Why does this millionaire scrub her own toilets? Because I don't want to forget to be grateful that I actually have one. Why do I not have a housekeeper? Because I don't ever want to forget that I have a house. I don't want to take it for granted. I want to dust my own furniture. I want to sweep my own floors on my hands and feet. I want to cook my own meals. Why? Because it's a privilege to cook for my family. It's a privilege to clean my house. It's a privilege to scrub toilets. It's a privilege. Oh, yes, I can afford a daily housekeeper, but I'd much rather feed orphans. I'd much rather take care of the poor. And I'd much rather remember where I could have started from. I'd much rather remember that I was homeless once and longed for a toilet, that I longed for food, that I longed for shelter. And when I had had it before I was homeless, I totally took it for granted. And guess what? Taking things for granted is your Egypt for some of you. That isn't Egypt. You don't even recognize what it is that you have. So I believe that our Father in heaven tonight has a message for you. That if you want out of your Egypt and you want to enter into your promised land, you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight. And most of it is your own mind. Most of it is your own mind. You're going to have to fight for it. But don't be afraid. Be strong and courageous, for he is with you. That's his promise. I'm with you, and I will fight on your behalf for you. You have to at least get in the game. You have to at least step out and do it with me. But I will take out your enemies on all sides. You're going to have to fight, because those that are around you that you've been living in Egypt with, guess what? They want things to stay exactly the same. They want things to stay the same. When you start talking about new ideas and new concepts, like, ho, Joe, no, dude, don't rock this boat. We're good. Things are good. Yeah, don't talk about debt. Don't talk about that stuff. No, we're good. They'll do everything they can to keep you there. So you're going to have to fight. And my question to you is it worth it? Is it worth the fight to get out of this place called Egypt? The elders of the children of Israel who grew up in Egypt, they didn't think it was worth it. They chose to stay the same. So after they all died, the ones that were born in the wilderness, those were the ones that got to take the promised land. Why? Because they were raised with nothing but a tent. So how would they see the promised land? Those are mansions that they're taking over. Man, that's like so much prosperity that they're taking over. What a blessing, right?